Welcome to the Expressoul Health and Wellness Podcast. In each episode, you'll learn from experts about the best practices and technologies to live a happier, healthier, and hopefully a longer life. Here is your host, Claudia Erdenola.
Welcome to Expressoul Health and Wellness Podcast. I am Claudia Erdenola. I am a professional engineer with a passion for health and wellness. I created this channel because I want to empower you to take control of your health. Every week, I bring experts, doctors, and people on the wellness community to teach us better ways to take control of our health, take care better health of ourselves, to live longer, healthier, and happier lives. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe right here and hit the notification button so you will be notified every time we bring new content to the channel. Also, please follow us in our social media channels. This episode is brought to you by Expressoul Coffee. Expressoul Coffee is my brand of coffee, and I created this brand with your health in mind. I care about clean coffee, and I give to my body only the best, and I want you to do the same. Expressoul Coffee is authentic coffee grown and roasted for optimal health. Why consuming all of those massively produced coffees commercially distributed out there when you can have at the convenience of your house the most delicious, healthiest coffee available in the market? Order our Expressoul coffees in our webpage www.expressoulcoffee.com, and you will receive our delicious coffees that are healthy for you, good for your health, at the convenience of your house. Order Expressoul Coffee now. Our guest today is Dr. Sara Zaldivar, and with her, we're gonna discuss about the carnivore diet. We gonna talk to Dr. Zaldivar why people are thinking more and more and more on getting into the animal-based diets and why are so beneficial for human health. Also, we're going to discuss with Dr. Zaldivar the major challenges and obstacles that people faces when thinking about transitioning to carnivore diets. So stay tuned because this episode is amazing. Dr. Sara Zaldivar holds a Ph.D. in exercise physiology from the University of Miami, in addition to both master's and bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics. She is a licensed dietitian in addition to being certified exercise physiologist with the American College of Sports Medicine. Dr. Zaldivar currently is a creator on multiple platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and an adjunct faculty in nutrition and exercise physiology at Miami-Dade College. Previously, she was a professor on nutrition and exercise physiology for 5 years at the University of Miami. So here with us, Dr. Sara Zaldivar. Dr. Zaldivar, very, very, very happy to see you here. Welcome to our podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much, Claudia. I'm so happy to be here. I'm doing great.
Amazing, amazing. I've been following your journey through your YouTube channel, your social media, and I have to say to my audience, if you still don't see Dr. Zaldivar, go and join her platforms, her YouTube channel, and especially now that you're being featured into the TV series for YouTube, Reverse Carnivore. And that is my first question. I would like for you to tell us your experience during the recording of this TV series, your interaction with Dr. Berry, with Dr. Robert Kills, with Maria Emmerich, with other, health practitioners into this carnivore movement, and enlighten us about that.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I had high hopes for it, but it definitely even exceeded my expectations because we were all flown there to Costa Rica for a week to film the TV show, which is the first ever TV show on the carnivore diet, even, TV show / documentary, And so we were all very excited. It was an all-star cast, with Dr. Anthony Chafee, Dr. Robert Kills, Dr. Ken Berry, Maria Emmerich was there. I mean, everybody was there. So it was really exciting to meet everyone, and everybody was just like you see them on YouTube, like exactly the same, and just as kind and nice, and even nicer and funnier in person. So it was so much fun. And it was really fulfilling to be asked to be featured on the first ever kind of TV show of this kind. And now we're getting ratings similar to CNN level ratings. I mean, in the first episode that ran, we got 150,000 views. This is what those mainstream channels usually get, when it's not prime time, So it was very, very exciting to see the response and how people receive that. And everybody is so excited because everybody's sick and tired of the mainstream narrative, right? Of what we were taught, me being classically trained as a dietitian, what I was taught, and then people going through their health struggles, similar to your journey, right? And just realizing how broken the system is in terms of nutrition and in terms of the medical system. And so we're sick and tired of it. We're sick and tired of the mainstream narrative because it is just so wrong, and it does not really help anybody in any way, shape, or form for the most part.
I totally agree with you. And especially when we see what the food industry is really promoting on the American population and general in the world, but especially here in America, it is, I mean, I'm an immigrant from Colombia, South America. And when I came here, it was to me very shocking to see on the TV, especially the pushing the commercials for drugs, all kind of medications for every single thing, and two, for the over processed, sugary, starchy, heavily industrialized food that we know is not good for humans. So, and that is my second question. Why do you think the carnivore diet that you advocate, that many others, like on the TV series Reverse Carnivore, we're seeing more and more evidence of the way and how it's beneficial is the proper human diet, and why the is being demonized, is being vilified by not only the food industry but also the media? What do you think is that?
Because who runs the most amount of ads on CNN or MSNBC or all of these mainstream channels? Who's running, who's supporting these companies, right? I mean, just start paying attention to the kinds of ads and how many ads they're running, right? It's like Burger King, McDonald's, followed by some drug, and then the funniest part is when they list the side effects at the end of any pharmaceutical drug commercial, right? It's like an antidepressant.
But they depicted the people happy. They depicted the people going to these places happy.
Hilarious. And then they take the rights, they buy the rights of some of those songs, and they ruin the songs, and they overlay them on the pharmaceutical company like drug commercials. And then the end, it's like an antidepressant with a side effect of potential suicide. It's like, dude, I'm trying not to kill myself. It's hilarious. So you have to see who, like, follow the money, right? Who is supporting these companies. And this is why you'll see why for 2 years throughout the pandemic, even though we had very clear data that people who ended up in a hospital with COVID-19 were either overweight or obese, 78%. This is a CDC study. 78% of those who ended up in the hospital with negative COVID-19 repercussions, they had to be hospitalized, were either overweight or obese. Did CNN bother to take 5 minutes of their time? Maybe they might be able to point, oh, look at that 5-minute thing. It was like 0.00001% of their total coverage. What was their coverage about? Same thing for all of the other channels.
Fear.
That tells you everything you need to know. Yeah.
Fear and be inside of the house. Don't look at the sunlight. Being isolated. Keep our kids away from school. I mean, we know today, and I think that's why all of these channels became very popular. Yours, mine, many others. Because it is a way that telling the people that it is there are protocols, there are ways that we can control our health and keep ourselves out of trouble, maximize our potential health wise. And then we're talking about more interesting terms here. We're talking about health span, lifespan, because hey, it's beautiful life, but it's beautiful to live life happier and healthier so we can enjoy what is nice about living.
Yes.
So,
Longevity is being healthy. In order for you to live a long life, you gotta be healthy, right? It's not just about being propped up to machines and just, not being dead. It's about thriving. That's what longevity is. That's what extending our health span really is. And this is another major passion of mine. I talk a lot about that on my channels, right? I don't just talk about nutrition and carnivore, but I also talk a lot about anti-aging as well. It is something I'm probably even more passionate about. It's just that the diet is so critical to the longevity aspect.
So in my channel, I like to talk about the wellness as the wheel of health. So basically, in that wheel of health, we have spokes that support that wheel, and we have nutrition, very important part. Exercising, very important part. Other protocols, saunas, exposure to the sun, good sleeping, meditation, mental health. I mean, all of those components are critical when we're talking about health span. We are now in this movement of better aging, how I call it. I like that term because it's not that we're not aging, but we are aging better and learning how to biohack the aging process to slow it down and make it better, get in better shape when we're older. That is basically what we wanted to achieve. So right now, and I'm looking into this carnivore because my husband and I transitioned to this diet since last year, and it was quite of a change. I did it before. My husband was he liked it, a lot of bread and stuff, and he was in very good shape, but he had a little visceral fat, and we went to vacation in Europe, and then he gained weight there. When we came back, we totally get into the carnivore, and he lost 33 pounds in less than 4 months. Visceral fat, his fit, he's incredible. Obviously, we combined that with, calorie restriction, sleeping very well. We were having windows of eating only 6 hours, and then saunas every night. We bought a sauna, so we got the sauna at home. We can do it every night. So that was something that it was extremely helpful. But my question to you is, what are the big misconceptions when people hear about the carnivore diet? For example, for anti-aging, because they were told that no, meat age people, meat is not good, meat is not good for your cholesterol. It is all, and now it's getting more and more and more. But we're seeing the scientific evidence on the contrary, that cardiovascular diseases, they go lower if the people focuses on animal protein diets, sleeping get better. I mean, so many other conditions. So what are those main misconceptions that we need to clarify here for our audience and from the population in general
Yeah,
about the carnivore diet?
yeah, there's just so many people that and doctors and public health professionals that so believe that plants, are the way to go, fruits and vegetables. And so they can turn a completely blind eye to all the research we have with regards to the advanced glycation and products, or AGEs. AGEs, or advanced glycation and products, are the process of glucose, which is a sugar that you ingest anytime you eat a carbohydrate, turns into glucose, most of them, and then it starts to attach to all of your structures in the body, like the collagen matrix that keeps your skin tight. Internally, your blood vessels start getting damaged by those glucose molecules attaching to everything, and your DNA and your cellular membrane. So we call that process glycation. And the molecules that are developed as a result of the glucose attaching to all kinds of molecules it has no business attaching to are called AGEs, which is short for advanced glycation and products. And nothing speeds up the aging process as much as the accumulation of those AGEs molecules. And we know that in vegetarians, their blood levels of AGEs are far, far higher than that in carnivores. And that's because the more plant-based you go, the more carbs you're eating, the more AGEs you're creating, and the faster the aging process takes hold. Not to mention the nutrient deficiencies you start to accumulate because you are eating a nutrient poor diet. There's this myth that we were, brainwashed as dietitians. I mean, throughout my whole career, becoming classically trained a dietitian with a master's and a licensed dietitian and then a doctorate in exercise physiology and nutrition at the University of Miami. So it was everywhere I went. That the training was the same, right? It's like plants, eat more fruits, eat more vegetables. This is where the vitamins and minerals are. It's like wrong. You are so tragically wrong. And it's quite mind-boggling how many professors just follow the herd. It's like, you have a PhD, you have a brain. How can you still parrot that outdated information? How can you not do extra research and look at the whole body of evidence of scientific literature that is completely opposite to the cherry-picked, poor quality epidemiological observational studies that you're holding up as the Bible? Like, it's just, you lose so much respect so quickly. The more you start doing your own education, you lose respect for these Ivy League universities. You lose respect for the professors. You lose respect for the whole system so fast.
I am a living proof of that. I'm telling you, I was vegetarian for 9 years and a half, and I worked engineering projects that were huge. So I wasn't working in nice metropolitan areas. I was, doing roads and bridges in very remote areas in different countries. And after 9 years and a half of doing vegetarian, I started experiencing loss of my hair, my skin. I was aging fast, my nails. I mean, I was very weak, sleeping very bad, skipping periods. I mean, it was a mess. So when I went to the doctor and they run my panels, he looked at me and I say, I have one solution for you, and it's not medicine. And I say, what? Which was very uncommon from a regular doctor. He said that. He said, you need to start eating meats again, Claudia. You can't continue on this diet because you are far away from good sources of the food that you used to eat. So you need to start eating animal products again, animal proteins. You need to reveal those nutrients. You're not receiving your lack of everything here.
Wow. You
So
got so lucky.
it was a transition. Oh my goodness. And I start eating meats again and never went back to the vegetarian protocol. It didn't work for me. And I noticed the big effects. And contrary with what I hear, that the vegetables were good for aging, it was totally the opposite for me.
Yeah. Right?
So
you literally start seeing your skin tightening up. You literally start seeing your face age in reverse, your energy levels, everything comes back. It's like your brain comes back online. A lot of people, I know I was one of those. I didn't realize I had brain fog until I stopped having it,
Don't you think this is a great difference that we notice that? I mean, it's like, why I thought that was normal. It is not normal. And you normalize those little symptoms. It's like, that's normal. I may be aging. No.
Because
That's not
nobody
normal.
knows about our species-specific diet. We've been told to fear our species-specific diet. We've been the one food that made us human, which was red meat. When for 99.99% of our existence as a species here on Earth, that's all we ate was red meat. We had no cancer. We had no heart disease. We were taller, had bigger brains, larger skulls, wider jaws. We never had misalignment of the teeth. All of this stuff, we started getting shorter. Our brain started shrinking again. We started having misalignment of the teeth. We started having weaker bones only when we started including agricultural or plant foods 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, which corresponds to being in the last 0.01% of our existence as a species here on Earth. Right?
And that is before we talk about fertility.
Because this is the thing that so many clients of mine now, I have to start like giving disclaimers. They come to me, we're just working on weight loss, and they've been in menopause for 2 years, 3 years. And all of a sudden they start getting their periods back and they have to pay attention if they don't want to have a baby, It's the reversing aging by getting them out of menopause, literally after 1 month or 3 weeks, even in some cases, on a strict carnivore diet, nothing but meat and ribeye and meats.
Now we're tapping into something very interesting that you just mentioned, and is the hormonal balance and how the animal protein based diets really help to balancing the hormones for men and women.
Here's the thing, all our hormones have to come from dietary cholesterol. You have to get cholesterol from your diet, because if you don't, and by the way, cholesterol is exclusively found in animal foods. That's it. So if you're eating a vegan or a plant-based diet, you're not going to get, especially on a vegan diet, excluding all animal products, that means you're getting zero cholesterol from your diet. And that's a problem, because your body can only make up to 75 to 80% only of your cholesterol needs that are needed just for survival. We're just talking about how much cholesterol you would need just to be alive. We're not even talking about how much cholesterol you would need to optimize and to thrive. So just for basic survival cholesterol needs, you can't even make that. You only make around 75 to 80%. And so you have to get the dietary cholesterol from your diet, and you get those from animal fat. Okay. So you need that, because dietary cholesterol turns into this kind of like master chemical or hormone called pregnenolone. From pregnenolone is where we start converting that into testosterone, into estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, all of these sex hormones that are necessary for fertility, for your mood, for your waistline, for your skin health, for every single system in your body. All of it is driven by hormones, right? And so the only way you can ever optimize for your hormones is to eat animal fat. Eat the egg yolks, eat the organ meats, eat the shrimp, eat the animal fats. All of them are going to be high in cholesterol, and that's exactly what we need. And this is why, I had this client, literally, she worked with me. She was from Canada, so she's seen all the doctors in their system, put her on multiple rounds of IVF for the past 6 or 7 years. She's been really, really trying to expand. She only had one daughter, and she wanted another kid before she was in her 40s, and she wanted it now. And for the past 6, 7 years, nothing is working. She barely would get a period. It was very, very light. And literally within 1 month of working together, she just took 1 month package with me where we did a lion diet, meaning just ribeyes and no plant foods whatsoever, not even coffee. You have to remove all plant toxins in that month. And I also made sure we created a caloric deficit, because she had extra body fat on her, which would mess with hormones, because body fat doesn't just sit there inert, not doing anything. Fat cells are actually an endocrine organ that are consistently releasing hormones into the body, and not just hormones, inflammatory molecules into the body. And those inflammatory molecules are going to mess with every system in your body. So you must eliminate every additional non-essential body fat cell on your frame. And so we started doing that. And literally, I get an email a month ago telling me that she's 6 weeks pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
After
Amazing.
isn't it? I mean, I almost cried. I mean, after 7 years of effort and thousands of dollars spent and time lost seeing all of these so-called gynecologist doctors. What are they spending their time doing? What are these doctors doing in their time? Like, I don't get it,
Practicing what they were taught many, many, many years ago. And
Exactly.
that's what is happening.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. I mean, I went through the system. I was taught all the wrong things too, but it's not an excuse, right? I changed. You can change too.
No.
Yeah.
The world changed too fast, and there is more and more evidence on how these new approaches to nutrition are better for humans. Our needs are higher now, since we don't have the soils that our ancestors had,
Right.
full of nutrients, where
Right.
we were consuming whole foods. Even if we were vegetables, they still were full of nutrients. That doesn't exist anymore. And when you're consuming organic vegetables, doesn't mean they have nutrients in it. I had a farm. I know how that works. And I was obsessed with the quality of the soil, because I knew that was the quality of the grass, and the cows were consuming those nutrients, therefore in the meat. I knew that, but that the massively consumed and produced food industry won't make any penny if they have to, recreate the nutrients on the soil for us to get them. So our nutritional needs are totally different now. And that's why I appreciate these channels and having you here to tell us all of this. So I hear, for example, I mean, when I started learning about the carnivore and I started listening Dr. Ken Berry's YouTube channel, and then Michaela Peterson made an amazing case about how she healed herself from these immunodefensive, problems. She got a lot of, diseases.
Autoimmunity.
She was just, yeah, when she was little, she suffered, tremendously because of that. And how the lion diet, the carnivore diet, totally healed her body, and how good she feels after. Now Jordan Peterson, her father, is following the protocol and feeling terrific, and many others. I mean, we hear more and more and more people jumping into the wagon and feeling the benefits. And the big question from the skeptics out there, for the normal people who doesn't know much about this, is, are there any risk associated with this kind of diet?
Yes. Becoming a superhuman. That's your risk.
That is the risk. I
That
love
is
it.
the risk. Do you want to become a superhuman? Then, follow a carnivore diet. Yeah, obviously, all the fear mongering is just coming from folks that or they might be authority figures, and so people don't critically listen. They don't critically analyze what they're saying, because it's an authority figure. They must be knowing what they're talking about, and nothing could be further from the truth. We ate an animal diet. I'm not even going to say an animal-based diet. It's a carnivore diet, because all we did was hunt. We evolved during an ice age. For 99.99% of our existence as a species here on Earth, the Earth's climate went through stretches, for the most part, of an ice age. Yeah, there were very short periods of time where you had some warming of the climate, but for the most part, it was an ice age. Do plants grow in an ice age? The answer is no. So not only that, even if during those very, very rare intermittent periods of global warming that occurred, the plants that were available weren't what we have available in this day and age. We never had the amount of carbohydrates that we're eating in this day and age. Only in the past 300 years have we started hybridizing so many fruits and vegetables. And it's so funny. I go through all of these, every single plant food with my students as I teach at Miami-Dade College. And I show them how every single food they think is a natural food is actually a frankenfood that never existed. Broccoli never existed. Cauliflower never existed. We hybridized those from the toxic mustard plant. And they still contain the toxin, which is erucic acid, by the way, although at smaller amounts. But if you're eating it every day, then you're getting slow poisoning over years and decades, and then you're wondering how, I was vegan and plant-based and did yoga, and all of a sudden I'm 50 and I have multiple sclerosis. It's like, yeah, because you are slowly poisoning yourself thinking you're eating healthy.
That is something mind-boggling, that people still find, and they are on the fence because they're too attached to the old narrative about the plants. And sometimes I crave some, and I'll go and eat them if I need it. But it's just because I feel like the impulse, but because I need it every day, I got enough nutrients out of my meats and and good fats, and again, knowing that my body's receiving what it needs is a lot better. But what about those people, Dr. Zaldivar, that are on the fence? And they're thinking to transition to this carnivore protocol. What would be your advice for those that are right there, almost about to do it? What should be the argument?
I think when people are about to do it, they're going to eventually do it. They're going to have one bad weekend of a binge, and eventually they're going to do it, because there's a reason why you're on the fence, right? You don't get to this position where you're contemplating carnivore unless either you're a peak performer and you want to constantly push and get better, and so there's a reason to do so, or your health is falling apart, or you're just sinking deeper and deeper into the sugar addiction and food addiction problem that is a major driving force of why everybody's struggling in all areas of their life, right? Not just in their fitness. It actually is affecting every other area of their life. So eventually they're going to do it. I don't think any advice I'm going to give them, I think they're just going to do it anyway. You got to have a reason to do it. Nobody can convince you of anything. You have to be progressing towards that self-improvement, so I think eventually they're going to do it anyway.
For many that, going into the discipline of changing a diet by themselves is wonderful. But in my case, I found that it's actually better when you do it with your partner, your husband, your boyfriend. I mean, it's nice. You're supporting each other. You're cheering. And it's nice when one find out some new research or new recipe. It's just better when you have a pal, when you're doing that together and get into the and feeling the progress. Because I mean, and again, we went through the whole process, so I know how it is when you start. And the mind is a big player here. So for those that are about to start, what you can tell them that they can expect, let's say in the first 4 weeks, starting a protocol of carnivore?
I think the major thing that people run into when they first start is the addiction problem. They don't realize how much sugar and food addiction had a hold on them. Studies have shown that the sweet taste, not just sugar, but even artificial sweeteners, because actually those studies were done on saccharin, which is the artificial sweetener. Studies have shown that the sweet taste is far more addictive than heroin, right? So when I did my dissertation, my dissertation was on addiction, on sugar addiction specifically, and exercise and sugar addiction. And so I spent 5 years of my life researching this topic I know it like the back of my hand. Back when I wrote my literature review and I had to go over all the literature that was available, I had to make do with the studies that showed how the sweet taste was more addictive than cocaine, right? 4 to 8 times more addictive than cocaine. The heroin studies had not come out yet. In 2017, we had a string of studies come out showing that this is the same thing even with heroin. And so, this is why people can't lose the weight and maintain the weight. 95 to 99% of people who lose the weight regain all the weight back and then some within the first year. So there is no success there, right? And the reason for that is because they don't know what they're up against. They don't know they have a habit that's worse than heroin. They look at heroin junkies and they look down on them, not realizing they're actually addicted to something far more powerful than heroin. So, I think this is the first roadblock that people come across. They go in and they get excited about carnivore. They last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe for 1 month because of the excitement. And then poof, they have a slice of cake and they're off the wagon. And they don't realize why it's so hard now to get back on the wagon. And so this is what I do with my coaching clients and my group coaching and one-on-one coaching, just explaining to them what happens to your brain with the dopamine destruction, because this is what a drug addiction does. It obliterates that dopamine system. And so you have to rebuild it. When you remove the drug, you're left with a vacuum, or something called anhedonia is the scientific term, which basically means a flat mood. Nothing makes you happy easily anymore. You can't just have fun from a conversation or enjoy a shopping trip or enjoy any normal thing that otherwise would have given you great pleasure. Now you need only the drug to give you some level of normalcy in your brain, some level of pleasure. And so I work a lot with that specific aspect of how we can rebuild the dopamine systems. I use exercise a lot because I find that it is the far more efficient, effective tool, and you have so much control over it. Literally, the dose and duration of your training, the more intense and the longer that exercise session is, and as it progresses over days and weeks, there is a direct correlation between dose and duration and time under tension in your exercise with how much dopamine you're rebuilding even at baseline. So even when you wake up in the morning, now you have higher levels of dopamine. That's the goal. That's the only way you can truly be consistent on any diet, especially a carnivore diet.
And you read my mind. I was about to ask you this because yes, you lose the dopamine side from those addictions to those sugary carbs and comforting foods that are not good for you. But when you get into the carnivore, what happened is that you got way more energy. And the detoxification is interesting because I think that the detoxification on the body happens also in the mind. Is weird, but it is happening. It is progressive that you start needing less and less and less and all of that because you start feeling so good. Exercising. I mean, you have extensive background on exercising and how building the muscle, getting bigger muscle mass is better as we age. And here is my next question to you because like in your case, my husband and I, we have an age difference of 23 years.
Oh, I love it. It's the best.
He has 75 years old and he has an incredible physique. And it is because he had been maintaining these workouts for long time, even though the diet, as I mentioned, he went a little bit off when we were on vacations in Europe. He went back, and because of that drive that he gets from good food nutrition, he gets so much energy. He was jumping to do all these workouts, and now he's better than ever. And it's interesting because he's older, but he's better. I mean, I can show right now images of you and your husband at 60. My husband and me, he's 75. How can we, in an effective way, tell our audience to get excited about aging better and implement these protocols for better aging?
Yeah, I think showing those pictures are very helpful, very motivating for people to see, right?
Absolutely, and we gotta put them here.
You have to. Yeah. It's so funny when people Google my name, you know how Google search will show you like suggestions. If you put Dr. Sarah Zaldivar and then it'll suggest to you the rest of the sentence depending on what people generally tend to search. And it's like my husband is like more popular than my YouTube channel. You know, it's so funny. But yeah, it's just look at all of these carnivores, that are, have been doing carnivore for an extended period of time and see how they're aging in reverse. It's very clear. You don't, you have the visual images. Look at Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Anthony Chafee. Everybody in this community, I feel, is aging in reverse,
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. And again, it is more important as we age because as the aging process naturally takes some of that muscle mass, and in women, and for us, I mean, I got this podcast with doctors specialized in hormone replacement therapy, and they told me, Claudia, when a woman comes to me with osteoporosis, I feel so sad because if I was seeing that woman a few years before and I have her in the right protocol of nutrition plus hormones, she would never had osteoporosis. Just by eating right, that's a preventive, measurement anybody can do from home.
Yeah, people focus on the calcium part of the equation with osteoporosis, forgetting that 50% of our bones are made of protein. Protein, right? Half of your bones are protein. So if you're not eating enough protein, and animal protein, because it gets metabolized better and absorbed and digested far, far better because it doesn't have any anti-nutrients that come along with the plants. If you're not doing that, you're never going to optimize for muscular strength or your bone density and just bone strength. And so that way you can prevent deteriorating and developing osteopenia and then developing osteoporosis, which is basically the weakening of your bones.
I mean, we see some stats right now on the older population in the US, and they some of those stats are a little frightening because say people after 65, if they fall, they cannot get up. The mobility is, it's staggering to see how people are losing so much control of their mobility just because not exercising.
not exercising, and everybody's so addicted, not even realizing how addicted they are. They're in the palm of the hands of these drug dealers, which are the food companies. It's like literal legal drug dealers with no regulation whatsoever. You would never give heroin to a child. Well, we have studies that show that sugar and the sweet taste is far more addictive than heroin, but yet we give it to our children, and we allow marketing, direct marketing to our children. What is happening to their brains as they're developing? Like the toughest client that I just so struggle so much to help children. They come to me, a lot of my clients, they have children, they want me to help them. It's like, how can I help a 12, 13-year old helpless individual? Their brain hasn't fully matured yet. They go to school and they are bombarded with highly addictive drugs. Like, what chance do they get? Right? And so it's a very sad situation.
I mean, in our schools today, Dr. Zaldivar, we had on the normal food they gave them in the public schools between 55 to 65% of overprocessed food instead of natural food. So that's what they are giving to our youth, our
And even the
children.
natural foods isn't natural, because I don't believe that fruit is a natural fruit, right? A food, right? I mean, those are franken foods that we have hybridized to maximize their sugar content, and we've
Correct.
removed their characteristics that were, like those were never foods that our species ever ate in any way, shape, or form. Where are the steaks? Where are the chickens? Where are the salmon? That should be the only food that we are giving our children at such a critical time of development, right? And so it's going to take a very long time for that to happen.
So in your consultation, when you have families, because I have a lot of audience here that are moms, dads, they listen these channels while they're driving, doing their chores, driving the kids to school, whatever. What would be a good, I would say, a good advice to give them on what they should be doing to
I think
control?
education. Yeah, I think educating our children. They're very smart. That these children are getting smarter and smarter at younger and younger ages, and it's very exciting to see. So I think we vastly underestimate their intelligence and their ability to decide for themselves. So I think giving them the tools and the education, and just bombarding them, not directly, but just indirectly. When you change your lifestyle, your children are looking at what you're doing. They want to mimic you, right? And so just showing them why you eat meat all the time is going to indirectly rub off, or maybe even directly rub off on your children, right? And then explaining to them about the addiction and about how all those things work. Children can absorb this information. We don't give them enough credit, I think. And on top of that, I think it's not enough. The education is not enough, because we all know cake is not good, but yet everybody still wants to go out and get it, knowing they shouldn't be eating it. So it's not the knowledge that is the critical point. It is the dopamine system and rebuilding that dopamine system, because you cannot just eliminate dopamine from the brain, or live in a dopamine deficit state. You will always, you won't care about anything until your dopamine goes back up to a functional level, and that's when you actually even have the discipline to deploy discipline, or to have willpower. You need dopamine first. The problem with addictions and eating sugars and carbohydrates is that they destroy that dopamine, and so now you try to go on a diet, you remove those foods that were supplying you with the dopamine, but you're left with a vacuum. And so this is why people eventually fall off the wagon, right? Because they're not ready for the state of dopamine deficit. They don't know what's going on in their brain, right? And so they need to understand that the trick is to maximize that dopamine regeneration as quickly as possible, and rebuild that dopamine system in the brain as quickly as possible. And in my opinion, nothing does that more effectively or quicker than exercise, intense exercise. It is the emotional and physical pain that you feel during an intense workout that triggers the brain to increase its baseline level of dopamine production. So walking is not going to get you there, unless you were bedbound and the walking is actually causing you some discomfort. Then yeah, but most people can walk, so you have to go way more intense.
Strength training.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And now something else that I would like to ask you, because what I found, and this is something that I discussed it with Amanda Decker, and she's organizing a very nice event in August in Dixon, Tennessee. It's called Low Carb for Better Health. And we're going to have Dr. Ken Berry attending, is one of the main speakers. And Craig Emmerich is going to be there, Maria Emmerich's husband, and promoting his new book on the carnivore diet and recipes. And Amanda actually made a very good point. She has a clinic helping people to lose weight. She was telling me, Claudia, the problem with most of the diets is that they are set the diets for people to be in so much of a deficit of intake, caloric intake, that it's so hard for them to keep that, because they don't have that dopamine void to fill. It's just kind of like set for failure. Society is much better when you're eating meat, carnivore, for example. You feel satisfied, you feel full, you don't have that sensation that I'm feeling like I didn't eat enough.
Yeah, a lot of times we think that we need more calories when in fact it's just that we're jonasing for that dopamine hit. It's just that addiction. And when you train hard, it's wild how quickly you can drop the body fat and you can eat far less calories for that short period of time, because your body now, it doesn't really need the extra calories. You have the extra calories stored in your body fat, It's not a good idea, obviously, to restrict calories if you don't need to, and starve yourself. But most people have an insane amount of calorie deposits in their fat cells that they can draw from. And so weight loss can happen very, very quickly when you fix that dopamine deficit in the brain.
Now, talking about the brain, we are having in America, in my opinion, a crisis of mental health. And we talk about this, and you hear everybody talking, but I just don't, I feel that sometimes when they talk about mental health, they're thinking the approach to be more from the pharmaceutical and behavioral. And they left aside a huge component that is the equilibrium on what you eat and your microbiome and the health of the microbiome and how that gut health communicates with your brain.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on that?
Yeah. It's like, before you diagnose yourself with depression, make sure you're not a junkie, right? Nobody expects a heroin addict not to be depressed. We all know if you're a heroin addict, you're depressed. But yet we look at ourselves not realizing that we are actually addicted to a far more powerful substance, which is the carbohydrate and the sugar. And then we start diagnosing ourselves with anxiety, ADHD, and depression. It's like, is it really depression, or is it the fact that you are an addict? You gotta get sober first. Get that sobriety first. And then once you're food sober, your brain gets a chance to breathe. But of course, this food sobriety part has to happen with a dopamine building system in place. And I love the exercise, but if you can't exercise, you can do it with anything that elicits emotional and or physical pain, because that's what triggers the brain to increase its production of dopamine, right? And so meditation can do that. Yoga can do that. Anything that pushes you outside of your comfort zone, cold plunges, anything that triggers
Saunas,
anything that makes you uncomfortable. And the longer that you can withstand the discomfort, the more dopamine and D2 receptor. I shouldn't go into the whole D2 receptor thing. I talk a lot about that on my channel, but the more you can withstand intensity and duration of discomfort, the more dopamine building you're creating, so that even when you wake up in the morning, you're starting at a higher level of dopamine functioning. Everything, your whole life will change. The way you move will change. The way you accomplish tasks. Cleaning the house becomes enjoyable. It's like clean cocaine. It's like taking a pill of Adderall, but without the crash. That is our normal state. And that's how you should be feeling. But we forgot about that because we started giving us a drug ever since we were infants. And so they've destroyed our brain from a very young age.
At some point, I think that we're trying to tackle here is just like finding the combination of protocols that keep us in perfect health, optimal health. And in a sense, it's kind of like going back into how our ancestors used to live.
Yes.
but in more modern life, because we don't live at farms, we don't grow our own animals. So what we can do from the modern life, living in urban cities, to keep still those good practices on consuming whole foods.
Yeah, it's very simple. We're doing it right. Just go back to our species specific diet, eat a carnivore diet. I'm not a fan of the dairy, although it's a good transitional food in the beginning. And then start training harder and heavier. And if you can't train, then start walking. Anything you do that's harder than what you're used to right now, engage in those moments of discomfort. And the longer the amount of time you spend in moments of discomfort, the more dopamine you're creating, so that now your brain is healing, so that you don't have cravings anymore. Not only do you not have cravings anymore, you have the mental clarity, you have enjoyment for life. A really good description of what addiction is that Dr. Andrew Huberman, a great Stanford neuroscientist, he says that, I love that. Addiction is the gradual narrowing of the things that bring you pleasure. Recovery is the gradual expansion of the things that bring you pleasure. And so now you're just happy all the time. And the more discomfort minutes you can invest in that dopamine building project of yours, the more things start to bring you more joy and higher levels of joy. You're like just high all the time. Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. During the COVID years, what we did, since, we were scared the first months and we wouldn't know what to do. And then we couldn't go back to the gym, and we were like, okay, we still want to exercise. So we start building our gym in our garage. We convert the garage in an entire gym. And now we
Love
got
it.
the sauna.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing for people that do not exercise and train heavy. The feeling that you have after a workout, this is just like the blood runs to your brain. It's like, I feel amazing,
Here's the
and
best
then
part.
yes,
Let me
yes.
just chip in. Sorry, Claudia, but this is so important. The best part is that over time, you start even enjoying the actual minutes of discomfort, because it creates this link in your brain. You know that discomfort means so much dopamine and happiness and excitement and energy later on. It's like, oh, I want more of those minutes.
And then we're not talking about the component here that, hey, is as human as feeling good because of nutrition, feeling good because of exercise, is looking good. It's part of humans. We want
Yes.
to age gracefully. There's nothing wrong with that. We want to
No.
keep the experience
Yeah.
of living
Yeah.
longer, healthier, happier. And here in Florida, you live in Florida too, we have a large
Yeah.
population of seniors. They
Yeah.
also want to live longer. And
Yes.
and why not?
Yes.
So
Beauty and the way you look also equals your health, right? We are more attracted to physical features that are associated with health. There's a very good reason for why we find certain physical attributes attractive and beautiful or not. A lot of it is very directly related to your health and energy and longevity. It is, it's not there for no reason. There's a reason why our species focuses on that, and all species focus on elements of attraction. And what, like, people pay attention to how their house looks, how their car looks, but your real house is the body you live in. That's the real house that you're living in 24/7. What's the point of having a beautiful house if the house you're living in is dilapidated and is breaking and falling apart?
Dr. Zaldivar, don't you find a little concerning to see the how our health practitioners, our doctors, in many cases look so unhealthy,
Oh yeah.
overweight, and
So many
they still
health
are giving you
ministers.
advice?
Dr.
Yeah.
Sean Baker, I love it. I'm not very
Yes.
confrontational like that, but his posts are hilarious. He'll post a lot of these. There's a meme that was making the rounds on Instagram, pictures of all of the health ministers of so many different countries, European countries, and I think here as well. And I mean, obese. How are you a health minister and you're obese? How are you ever going to help anybody else or any other country if you can't help yourself? Like, it is mind blowing. Isn't like the first criteria for the job is understanding the elements of health, applying it yourself before you can help anybody else, it's shocking.
It is shocking. It should be almost like a job description
It should.
requirement. You cannot teach, how to keep the people healthy. You have to take care of yourself first.
Exactly. Apply it on yourself first, because let me tell you, 99% of the theory flies out the window the moment you start to actually apply it and try to get healthy. I know. Classically trained dietitian up to the doctoral level. And the reason why I'm so effective with my work with my clients and with my brand, and this message is, reaching so many people, is because I actually was applying this information, and I figured out by application that it's wrong, which led me to do so much more research. I mean, thousands upon thousands of hours of research that never ends, to this day, never ends. All I do is research, right? And so why do I do all this stuff? Because I am applying it to myself. I'm not just reading from a book and just believing it. You have to be an active learner. Passive learning
Absolutely
is useless. Yeah.
Put your actions where your words are. And
yes.
you said it before in other podcasts, I believe it was with Lily. You said you are your own brand. You are your own brand. I mean, what tells better about what you're saying by yourself? Do you think, if I look at your husband, I don't have to wonder he's doing the right thing. If I look at my husband at 75,
right.
I don't have to wonder what he's doing right. Look at you. You look beautiful. And I know you're taking care of yourself. I take care of myself as much as I can because, yes, I want to enjoy my family. I want to see grandkids. I want to see all of that while I'm healthy and vibrant and feel, sexy and happy and strong, even if I'm getting older.
Yes. 1000%. That is where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to live in that zone, in that feeling of happiness, optimization, thriving, energetic, excited, high, not almost, I should feel high all the time. Like that is what a human being is supposed to be, and how they're supposed to be feeling if they're doing the right things. If you're not there are things in your life that you should be paying attention to, that you're not paying attention to. There are things in your life that you're not fixing, whether it's your exercise, your diet, toxic relationships. I mean, so many things.
I love that book. I saw it the other day. You were interviewing him, Kicking Ass After 50.
Zane Griggs. He's the co-author with Dr. Ken Berry on this book. Yeah, he was great, right?
Amazing. But I loved what is that book about because, hey, being healthy after 50, this is our human right. And after 60 and after 75, I mean, we have to be thinking and change the thinking of thriving as we age. It's not longer a privilege from the young. We can do it if we get our work together and getting right nutrition, right physical protocols, exercising with heavy weights and, resistance,
I would add also one more element to everything you just mentioned. Those are the pillars of longevity. And I would add also detoxification and eliminating the heavy metal accumulation, because they lead to breakages and destroy our DNA, which exacerbates and speeds up the aging process. So removing those and detoxifying can actually reset our biological age.
100%. And that's something that we experience very much here with our sauna. I mean, the first 3 months were like insane. The amount of, first we eliminated most of the toxics from the food, but you still are exposed with plastics, containers that you got, your soaps. I mean, it's in the environment, it's in the clothing. So
in the air you're breathing.
Exactly. Constant detoxification is primordial. I mean, we do it with the sauna and it works wonders. I never ever in 52 years, and I take care of myself, I never saw my skin in such a good shape. I mean, I even my husband said, your skin is so soft. And I said, I know, but there are two things that there is extra collagen that I'm consuming because I'm consuming more animal products. It's mainly the 100% of my diet. plus detoxification, good sleeping, my hormones are in place. So all of that is just like the wheel of wellness, all of those spokes of wellness that we're talking here with people. And again, is human to be thinking that we want to be healthy, but also that we want to look good. There's nothing wrong with that.
We should want to look good. It is a sign of health. If you can't manage to look good or attractive, why is that? A lot of it has to do with having excess inflammation from excess body fat in your system, right? On your body. That can detract from your attractiveness, right? There are things now that are outside of our control, like the width of a jawline that can happen after eating too many grains and certain situations that could lead to, but I mean, you can fix those things obviously, but
Losing
people
bone.
need to understand the way you look is very closely related to your health and to your longevity, and we should care. I never understood this idea, like, oh, vanity is like,
Dr. Zaldivar, you are doing right now something. This is interesting, and for the people out there listening, I want you to let them know about these retreats that you're leading to Jamaica for Carnivore, for people thinking to going through these protocols. How is that works?
yeah.
How is the program about? What are the goals?
Yeah, so it's the director of our TV show, the Reverse TV series. His name is Charles Maddox, and he's putting the plan in place to create those retreats, and he would have me on board lead those retreats, and other influencers and doctors in the carnivore community. But we don't have a date set yet. We just put it out there to see how much people are gonna reach out, and I think that once people reach out, then he's going to decide on the location. It's going to be in Jamaica, but like on the dates and stuff. But meanwhile, I do have my group coaching that I am very excited about. It's growing so quickly. We're very excited about the growth of that community. This is where we're meeting right now. This current schedule is on Sundays at 9 a.m. Eastern timing, because I'm in Florida, and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern timing. But I have people all over the world. Like just like a moment ago, I have a new client onboarded in Sweden. There are people all over the world that are joining our
Wonderful.
meetings. It's fantastic, and they also get the recordings for those all of the meetings. So it's $49 if you want one weekly meeting. So it's $49 a month to get to one weekly meeting, or $99 a month for both meetings. So bi-weekly meetings. And then as we're growing, and we're growing fast, I'm going to add a lot more time slots to that. And of course, I have the one-on-one coaching. All of those stuff is found on my Instagram, where you can find me at dr.sarah.zaldivar, and on my YouTube channel, Dr. Sarah Zaldivar, or you can just email me, reach out, drsarahzaldivar@gmail.com. I'll make sure I'll send you all this stuff so you can link it somewhere easy.
Wonderful. And for our audience, we're going to have all of those links available in our description box. So you will have all information about Dr. Sarah Zaldivar and her initiatives about the coaching groups and individuals and all of that she's explaining, because, Doc, we need to be guided into these amazing protocols that are enhancing the human health.
Yes.
And we have all the potential. We just need to get in action,
The coaching
to do
is,
it right now.
I hire coaches. I am never without a coach. I am constantly investing in myself. And the more you grow in every level in your life, the more you invest in coaching, because it speeds up the process of progress dramatically. Instead of it taking you 20 years, it can take you 1 month. That you're taking all of the experience, intelligence, knowledge of one person, and they're giving you what you need to know, instead of you having to waste so much time, effort, make mistakes, and take forever to get there. So I believe in coaching so much.
Absolutely. And I am 100% with you. And again, some people do very good. I did very good on my carnivore because I have Dr. Ken Berry coaching me on his YouTube videos. So I knew, you have to be doing the electrolytes. You have to be, remember, you can be dehydrated, take more electrolytes. And I was listening week by week all of those videos, so I knew I walked through every step of the way. He was guiding me, and I understand. And then when my husband jumped into it, I was already a few months into the diet, so I could help him out. Coaching is a big, 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 big help, especially if you're trying to do these changes that are dramatic, that from what you were eating, from your normal sedentary life to exercising, all of that guidance is so worth it. So worth
It's
it. I
so true, and
totally agree with you.
it's very rare to find people who don't have an extreme sugar and food addiction, right? 95 to 99% of people who try to do carnivore are actually severe food addicts, and so you almost stand no chance without the coaching. You almost stand no chance. Like you're trying to detox from a substance that's worse off than heroin. Like the studies are very clear on that. And so trying to do it by yourself, I mean, you could, but just be prepared for multiple tries.
I just occurred to me that yeah, sugar is tremendous addiction, but something that happened to most of the people in America during the years of COVID, the consumption of alcohol went up to the roof
Addiction. Yeah.
because the worry. What about that?
Yeah, that's your emotional management system, right? You don't have an emotional management system. You just numb out any negative emotion, which is also a dopamine deficit state, with either sugar or with alcohol or even carbohydrates that are salty. Some people react more strongly to that. They're all equally addictive.
Very
And so,
much. So,
yeah.
Dr. Zaldivar, for our audience out there, what would be like your closing statement from your experience in working these carnivore diets, guiding people into better ways of take care of themselves and make these changes to dietary,
Mm. You can't be
this
casual
guidance
about
on that?
it. Yeah, I think most people get too casual and get too overconfident. Because there's still you get a dopamine hit just from trying a new diet. You get that extra dopamine just from the first few weeks to the first month. Like, oh, I did 1 month, I was able to do it, so it must have not been that much of a hard thing to do. And then they try to do it again, and then they start struggling and struggling. So remember, the novelty aspect is going to give you some dopamine initially. Don't be fooled. You are climbing up. It's like an uphill battle, basically, and you want to be prepared. And the way you prepare yourself is understanding that this is not an easy thing. You can't be casual about addictive foods. Number one. Number two, you have to fill the void. When you remove addictive foods and you have this dopamine deficit state, you must, as quickly as humanly possible, go back and rebuild the brain, and not just rebuild it, optimize it. You have to, the higher the amount of dopamine building you can get to, the better off you're going to be, and the more resilient you're going to be, and the more consistent. And not just with diet, it actually you start noticing all your life changing. You start realizing you can confront people, you can have those hard conversations that in the past you would have there's no way you could have done that. And now it's like, this is easy. I'm not feeling any stress. I'm in charge. You feel like the alpha, and it's just, that's where we're supposed to
Empowering.
be. It's so empowering. And I mean, it's every area of your life, mentally, mental clarity, your productivity shoots up, your memory, your eloquence and fluidity in speech, your confidence, your income goes up. I mean, everything. That's something that I love to say. Like we all believe like, oh, the earth revolves around the sun. It's like wrong. The earth revolves around dopamine. That is the essence of life.
Love that. Love that.
It's true.
So true. It is so so true, and I appreciate very much those words, and I want the people out there get passionate about this and get in charge of their health. I always tell them, you are responsible for your health. Don't just give up because you have you don't feel strong enough, because you feel the mental fog. That's not normal, and you can fix it. It is ways of fixing those things. I'm a professional engineer, and I remember there were times where I was coming to my computer, and I was like, I don't understand these plans. Oh my gosh. engineering is a very competitive field, especially very masculine driven. And I was just like, I don't want to say anything. I need to understand this. Little by little, when I start clearing that fog, it was like I could see, understand. I was just, it was so different the way that I was thinking and working, the productivity. It was a big change.
I
So
know, I know, I know
I
that feeling.
think
I know that feeling when it's like, wait a second, it's just like my brain is like you're on Adderall and your brain capacity expands, and it wasn't even
yes.
like the initial goal. The goal was to overcome the sugar addiction, right? And to improve your health. And then you start noticing, wow, the brain health is just amazing how it exponentially skyrockets when you combine it with fixing the dopamine state. I cannot stress that enough. It's not just going on carnivore. You have to fix the dopamine deficit.
That is, in my opinion, the big takeaway from people on this conversation with you. It is the dopamine part. We need to fix it. We need to get better at that, understanding that is an addiction. Those carbs, those sugars, the tastes, the colors, the artificial flavors, that is a hook. They are polluting your body and it's not good for you. We have to get out of that. And for our children, even better.
Oh yeah,
It is a
that's the
must.
heartbreaking stuff right there. Yeah.
So thank you very, very much for such a wonderful conversation, Dr. Zaldivar. This time has been enlightened, and I know our audience are gonna find this interview extremely helpful. Thank you so much for coming to my podcast, and I hope you lot of luck in all of your endeavors. I'm gonna be following you, and I hope to have you next time in another specific topic.
Absolutely. I would love to, Claudia. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us and watching or listening. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. This is my passion. And I love that we have so many similarities. So I feel like we're kindred spirits.
We need to put together our husbands
Right.
because they are kicking us after 60 and after 75.
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah, they keep the standard elevated, but it's good. It's a good thing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And again, for all of you out there, remember, health is wealth for the body, mind, and souls. Take care. If you like the content of our podcast, please subscribe and hit the notification button so you will be notified every time we post new content in our channels. Also, leave your comments below. We would love to hear from you. Follow us in our social media channels. We would like to see you there. And thanks for your support.
Thank you very much for listening. And if you like the information that we shared with you today, please subscribe to the Expressoul Health and Wellness podcast and follow us in the social media outlets of your choice. Until next time, please remember, health is wealth for the body, mind, and soul.